So was that like, you can have my number, or what do we...
Yes. Yeah, I guess that's a yes.
Oh my God, great. Okay. That now. And I'll be sure to treat you like a nasty little bitch. That was a joke.
Oh, no,
Sorry.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, that was like, oh, okay.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So everybody that comes up here, I say, you know, the show is amazing, it's really great, blah, 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 and I usually mean it. But this is the best show on television right now. She is the creator, the writer, the star, and that is an incredible feat. How difficult was it for you making this show, being a part of all of these parts of production?
Really, really difficult. I mean, it was a joy. It was amazing. It was originally a play, so I guess really translating it from a play to the TV script was actually really, really, really hard. But,
How so?
I think it was a one-woman show, and so it was all about just my relationship with the audience, and it was her life over 3 days. And it was more about her control of telling the story. So everything the audience knew about the world that she was describing was seen completely through her prism.
It's like an unfaithful narrator kind of thing?
Yeah, and I was totally in control of what they
Unreliable
thought.
narrator.
And that's one.
That's unfaithful? She's like, has a separate audience that she's telling the story to as well?
Unfaithful, yeah. And then suddenly, when I was having to dramatize it, there is the real world, there for the audience. And so her ability to manipulate the audience had to change a bit because the real world was just happening around her. So it kind of changed the basic DNA of what I was trying to do. But once I cracked it and realized that she can still be talking to the audience, and she can say one thing's happening and then something completely different can be happening, or she can describe one character as one way, then they behave in another way. Once I cracked that's something to play with, then it got easier.
When did you crack that? Because I found that the first scene of the show is perfect in the sense that it is perfectly written to the point where you are performing moments, you are talking to the camera in moments, and then there is voiceover in moments, and then we close with you telling the sort of final punchline to the audience. Yeah. You're welcome to say it here. You're very much allowed to
talk about my massive arsehole here, yeah.
How long did it take you to just crack that scene in terms of what was going to be VO, what was going to be spoken to the camera, and how everything was going to land?
Well, that one I knew when I didn't know anything about how it was going to translate to the script, to a TV script. I did know that I was going to start with the massive arsehole joke. I just knew. I was going to say in my arsehole. I just knew that was the joke to start. I felt it like that.
Was the massive asshole joke in the play?
Yeah, but it's like 2/3 of the way through the play, and it's just quite a throwaway joke about a guy that, well, in the same way that it is in the pilot, but it was just another guy she's had sex with, and it's just a kind of joke that you build up to. But there was just something about the innocence and the natural vulnerability of her before that moment, saying like, like you can relate to this because we've all fancied someone and we've all wanted someone to turn up in the middle of the night and sweep us off our feet and everything. And the kind of innocence and vulnerability of that played straight down the barrel. I thought was just a really relatable way to start it. And then it just is a slightly surprising twist at the end. And as long as she's genuinely worried that she has a massive arsehole as well, that was the kind of trick. And then I suppose, I don't know, it's really weird. That scene was very, very clear to me that should open it, and that I knew instinctively that that's how much I should be talking to the camera or not. Whereas later on it became... a lot of the looks that you see later in the series and stuff were just happening organically. But with that one, it was rigorous.
And when did you decide after writing that scene that you would have a running joke through the 6 episodes where you turn to the camera and say, fuck me up the ass?
I did it once.
And that didn't get a laugh from me saying it, so clearly men should not be saying that.
Fuck me up the ass. I wrote it once, and I found it very funny, and so did a script editor and very close friend who was kind of my constant audience for my jokes. And when that one went down well, it was the temptation. I was like, I can't do it again. I can't do it again. And I just kept thinking, as long as it's making me laugh and her laugh, the woman I was working with, and as long as it's making us laugh, then I'm just going to push it to the limit.
Well, it's such a wonderful, dirty joke that the way that you play it is you're constantly sort of telling it away from other people that are in the scene. So it is just a dirty joke between you and the audience.
Yeah.
It works perfectly that way.
So it builds up that complicity between the audience and the character, I think, which is useful.
Who then kind of become complicit in the character's pain as well, which is so interesting because in the final moments, she reveals all of this pain to a different person rather than to the audience. When did you realize in the writing process that it would make more sense maybe even for her to do it with another person or have another person there rather than almost like a monologue delivered straight to the audience?
Because I wanted the audience to not be the people that she's confessing to. They are the witness that she takes everywhere with her, that she has to maintain her front to. So the audience are there for her to always be showing off to be saying, my life is fine, my life is hilarious, come on in. And so she doesn't want you to see the sadder bits in her life. And I just found that flipping that, because normally it would be that you'd be the person she's confessing to, but I actually thought it's almost somebody saying how they feel in the moment that they feel it openly and well articulated to you. Is kind of, it's informative. It may not have an emotional punch, whereas you feel like she's been joking with you the whole time and there's something she can't tell you that she can tell someone else. I thought it would just make the relationship between the audience and Fleabag a bit more complicated.
Did the original play, it was originally like according to Wikipedia, it was almost like a dare to produce like a 10-minute sort of one story stand-up, and then you expanded it into a play. Did the original play sort of have to do with the tragedy of the loss of this her best friend as well?
Oh yeah. That was that's the thing that's held through the translation to TV. It was always the friendship between them and the loss of her and the grief that Fleabag's experiencing, and then how she kind of fills those holes. Sorry. I saw
that coming down the pike, sorry.
The reveal in the end and everything was the same, but it was just, as I said, the play was just her life over three days, whereas it's much longer in the TV series. So just have to stretch her grief out a little bit.
How much do you personally relate? And I ask that because I think when a show like this comes out that feels confessional, and for some reason within our culture, and I think maybe it's just in the United States, when a woman does a show that is confessional, there tends to be this sort of rallying around it as if that's that person and this is sort of their confession. So I ask, how much do you actually sort of relate to this character in the sense of presenting humor over grief or having like a shield of dark humor rather than sort of exposing your feelings?
Completely and wholly. I feel
Me too.
I relate deeply, really deeply to this character. She's very personal to me, and some of the jokes and awkward situations have been lifted from my life, but I think the tone and the humor and the wanting to play with the idea that humor covering pain was something that I realised I was really familiar with in my own life. Not the same pain that she's carrying, but just kind of letting things be funny before they're sad. And then realising that was something I wanted to play with, and then building a dramatic story into that. But at the heart of her, like that sense of always feeling like you've got to be on your A game and be in control of everything and know the answer to everything and know the answer to all your problems before anybody else does, kind of, that she's like, I've got this, I'm totally on top of this. And actually,
sort of have to know the game. Like if you're putting humor first and you're sort of feel like you have to be on top of everything becomes kind of a game, and that's how you can be on top of it,
Yeah.
I know the better insult here. I know the way to jibe everybody a little bit more.
Yeah, and being able to say, like, I care, but I don't really care. And that's constantly all the way through it. And then hopefully there are moments that she lets slip that you realise, my God, she really does care. And she's, and like relationship with her sister as well. I have a sister who I'm very close to and a brother as well. And that whole relationship of kind of sparring siblings who are completely different but totally devoted to each other and can be so horribly cruel as well as kind to each other. That was...
Where did the idea come from that's my least favorite question, but I'm just going to phrase it that way, that the man that she sort of eventually exposes herself to emotionally, is also a kind of almost man dealing with his own masculinity and like this idea of like men's rights to a degree, and spends his time in therapy groups where he shouts slut all the time in order to feel more. I think that's why. Where did that idea come from, that she would expose an element of herself to a man who's dealing with his own sort of masculinity?
Well, first of all, it was really important that it wasn't a kind of anti-men message. That could, like a lot of like female-centric work can be, the people jump on that really quickly, like whether or not it's kind of anti-men, that she's kind of like, oh, I fucking hate men, I'm going to treat them like shit. It's basically just meant to be a show about broken people, and I really wanted somebody else who, in any other way, she shouldn't probably be able to relate to. Like, he's an older man with a completely different life setup and work and goals and jobs and everything, but they recognise something broken in each other, and that's what helps them open up to each other. So it's sort of about being brave enough to make a connection with someone that you otherwise might not be able to. And also the idea that there's somebody in the first episode that seems like he was just there for a joke, and then turns out that he's one of the most significant characters in the show, was something that just really excited me. That idea of like nothing's throwaway, no person in this show is throwaway, they can actually come back.
Well, it's an incredibly beautiful moment, and I think the third or fourth episode when you see him at this retreat, and I think your final line to him is something along the lines of, I just want to cry all the time, which is, I think, a lot of ways how people who use humor all the time eventually, like when they strip that away, are just kind of like, fuck.
Yeah.
I just want to cry about all that stuff I made fun of. I was only making fun of it because it made me really sad.
And it's like, keep laughing, keep making jokes, keep making jokes.
Keep insulting everybody.
I keep being mean. Yeah.
But it's so interesting, though, that you chose someone who reflects, like, some of the issues that's going on with them are reflective of their own sort of are gender specific in a way. And I'm wondering if there were if you were thinking gender specifically with your character as well, in terms of what her problems were outside of the tragedy of the loss of a best friend is universal, but of her other problems, were they sort of gender specific in your mind?
They were, to a certain degree, in that they feel that they were coming from a place of, coming from like my personal impulses, and I am a woman. Just to be absolutely clear about that. And so in some ways it does feel like the fact that she's a woman's integral to the show and her story, and that all the confusion she experiences about feminism, and there's something so I don't know, maybe brothers have the same sort of relationship, or I feel like it might be slightly different, but there's something specific about a close sister relationship that I think's specific to obviously women and sisters relationships, but yeah, but I have often thought like how the story would be received if it was exactly the same, and the same attitude and tone, and if it was a man playing it. But I'd like to hope that it would still stand up, because I was aiming for a kind of story about a human in the end. But she's totally defined by it is also defined by the fact that she's a woman, because it's her experiences.
Wonderfully defined by that. And I think one of the most interesting things is that 15, 20 years ago, the story would be a woman dealing with the expectations of her as a housewife or as something that is not a feminist, whereas the expectations on this particular woman are, I'm not a good feminist.
Yeah.
Which is so contemporary and so much different.
Yeah, and that she's being told to think things all the time, and that her like going to that feminist lecture, well, even though their dad sends it to them as a kind of way of mothering them from a distance, but even then, like, they're just listening, like, she's listening to it, and this is an example of what, of like a revered feminist giving an important speech about what's important about being feminist. And that was very important to me. I wasn't taking the piss out of that, because it is important, and the people that do lectures about feminism are, important and revolutionary people, most of them. But it doesn't mean that sometimes you can go to them and be like, or like just be like really bored, or like have a sense of humor about it, or just don't ask stupid questions. The answer is obvious, And I felt like that was the secret of the show. There's a secret bit of the female experience that I wanted to be like, what if we just put that on TV? What if all the other women would go, yeah, me too? Or if they'd be like, oh my gosh, she's such a bad feminist. I don't know. But it was...
Well, I think it says more about sort of culturally, like, sure, we say feminist or that we are feminist, but we still now we just place a different set of expectations on women rather than the set of expectations that we placed on them before. It's a different type of respectability expectations that we place on them, which Fleabag is sort of flying in the face of at times.
Yeah, and I think also the pressure that she feels to have, which is actually more prominent in the play, but I hope comes through in the TV show, that she feels... like the speech that she has about sex and that she's obsessed with it, and that she can't stop thinking about it. Also, she's obsessed with every aspect of it except the feeling of it. And that kind of felt a bit dangerous when I was writing it, because I know I've had a lot of conversations with like my girlfriends and some guy friends as well, but mainly girlfriends, who said the pressure to feel like sexually valuable and like totally desirable and like that completely takes over for a lot of the time. And that as long as they're having sex and it's good sex, it's enough sex, and it's like with the right people, then they feel, and that they're desired, then they can feel like they're on top of things. And it was that thought worm was in my mind as well when I was writing it, and I was just thinking, this is ridiculous. I don't know, like she defines herself by her sexual value in a way.
Exactly, sex for her is a validation. She's sort of in this dark place in her life, and there's no specific person to her that is in love with her, that she loves or feels love with. Yeah. So sex at this point is almost, like you said, a value, a currency of validation for her.
And the only way to control anything, like the moment there's sex in the room, she's like, okay, I got this. Like, I just need to sit like that and do this and talk this way, and I can control this situation. And as long as there's desire there, and like at the end when she says the worst thing in the world is someone who doesn't want to fuck her, that was like the extreme version of if there is somebody that doesn't want to, then she's totally spun out, because then she has to be something other than, a predatory woman or a sexual woman.
Which we see in the final episode, there are a few people who actually don't want to fuck her.
Yes, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't want to fuck her at all across the whole series.
Let's talk about some of the casting of the supporting people in the show, because you're amazing and you did an incredible job writing and starting the show, but you also got Olivia Colman, who is just a British treasure right now. She's incredible. How did you get her?
Well, she's also my friend, so she had to.
Boom. Boom.
But I'd done a couple of plays with her, and I did a play with her and a film with her, and she came to see the play of Fleabag when it was in a kind of Black Box Fringe Theatre in London, and she really loved it, and she foolishly said, if you ever do anything and you fancy writing something for me, I'd love to do it. And I was like, oh man, you're so going to regret saying that. And I tried lots of different things, and then when
she's amazing in the show. The two of you have some incredible passive-aggressive scenes together.
Well, the amazing thing is when you have someone like Olivia or like so many of the other actors, once I knew they were on board and going to do it, I could just totally write to their strengths. And knowing that Olivia is so warm and generous and giving in her spirit, like it radiates out of her. I was like, my God, imagine if she was a bitch, but still did all of that stuff, like the stuff that you get for free with Olivia Colman. And then we were kind of playing around with it, and then I was just like, it's just too much fun, because she can do both. She can be so evil. For
those of you who don't know who Olivia Colman is, IMDb her and go watch everything on the list, because she's incredible.
She's amazing. Yeah.
And then you got Brett Gelman, who on this side we love, but how did you know who Brett Gelman was?
Well, that was Amazon casting. I knew who he was from Love, from the Netflix show Love, and originally he was meant to be quite a boisterous Scottish character, and just kind of horrendously sexually inappropriate and loud and drunk all the time. And
he is.
And like he is. And Amazon were like, we know just the guy. No, I'm joking. They said, because when they came on to co-produce, they said it might be nice to have an American character, and I hadn't thought about that until Amazon came on board, and then they said, and then they recommended Brett, and I mean, it was we were like, what? Like, he's never going to do it. And then we sent it to him, and he said he really liked the script, and he'd never been to London, so he was like, he just goes away. But he just got it straight away, and he was just, we were thrilled, obviously. It was like the star flew in to our little coop.
Star. Brett Gelman, the
Yes.
star, flew
He
in.
was the American, who came to our little British set. It was so
I'm
exciting.
sure he would be like really flattered to hear that.
Yeah, it was just so exciting.
And what about I'm forgetting her name right now. I'm blanking on her name, but the woman who plays your sister.
Sian Clifford.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's extraordinary. I was at drama school with her, and we've known each other for years and years, and always wanted to play sisters in one form or another, because we kind of naturally have that relationship anyway. And so when I was writing this, I completely had her in mind, and the BBC loved her audition. So that was, because I couldn't imagine anybody else doing what she did. But
Now, you have this other show that's available on Netflix right now that's called Crashing. Did you do more than one season of that? Was it just a one series?
no, it was one series.
One series. It's extremely funny, and you can sort of see, it's written and created by you, so it's all the stuff that you kind of love about Fleabag, your humor sort of within there, but it isn't as much of a personal story. I'm curious if at all it was for you, because there are elements of sort of what could feel personal to you, but in a sort of big concept, almost like sitcom. You know?
Well, that's exactly what it felt like. It was a really good exercise in how to write a big concept sitcom, and it was it was much more about putting the right pieces together. I'd written the characters before and had in short plays and had put them on in London with our theatre company, and then the production company came to see them and they were like, we love those characters, how can we find a way to get them to all live together that isn't Friends, basically. I was like, why can't they just live together? And so we found the property guardian concept, and then it was still a relationship drama, and it was kind of, but it's slightly like bigger and sillier and kind of more innocent than Fleabag, which has a kind of black aching heart of a sitcom.
And that's what I love about it.
Yeah, me too. And like writing the two is a very different experience, but fun on each side. But the
what was the experience like writing Crashing versus Fleabag? I imagine Crashing is like you're running a writer's room almost, and you're sort of throwing jokes out there and trying to sort of put it all together. And Fleabag seems just like more you probably sitting at a typewriter writing yourself.
Yeah, Crashing was 7 characters, so there was a lot more of that kind of chucking ideas around with the producers and script editor, and the same amount with Fleabag, I guess. But I think the mind-bending thing about Crashing was that it's 7 different stories in 23 minutes, which was a few too many characters, and so that was. But the discipline of having to crack that was much. It was just more. It felt more of an equation doing that, and then making sure that there were jokes landing at the right time in every page, and the characters were having their own little mini arcs.
I bet it made you like an incredible writer in terms of the economy of the page. Just sort of like, this is the information that has to get out here. This is the joke for it. How does this feel realistic in 4 lines?
Yeah, it was a real training ground. And then so Fleabag was a lot more erratic. I was kind of writing a scene. I'd hear a piece of music and go, "Oh God, that's inspired me for a scene in episode 4, which is the scene with the guy on the log." Like I wrote that, and then while I was in the middle of writing episode 3, and it was much more jumbled around, and the fact that it's from one character's perspective and you never leave her was a very different approach to it as well. So, both equally difficult. But
at least you're humble about it. At least you're humble. I think we have time for some audience questions. Who has questions out here?
Hey Phoebe. I love the show, and I love when you said like you'd take years off your life that was great. How did performing this with the audience tailor like what you think is funny or what you don't think is funny?
Oh, from doing the play?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was such a luxury doing, essentially, I think it was like 3 months of rehearsals for the TV show, because I got to know this character so well, and so much that I'd learned through the previews and performing of how to deliver the lines was just huge. And I could feel the echoes of the audience while I was doing the TV show, and I was just I'd still say the joke and then just imagine that I was back there, because on set it's just silent, so I'd be like into the camera, and then everyone's like, yeah, it's good, let's do it again. And I was just like, oh my God, this is awful. And so it was really
ask people, were like, somebody tell me this is funny.
Like,
somebody?
Guys, is this okay? Yeah, it was really weird, because I'm just looking, this relationship with the camera was just became really personal. Like if you're acting, with another actor, if you make them laugh, it's like, it's unprofessional, but it's like, yes. But yeah, there was none of that with the camera. So, I mean, I guess every actor would love to have 3 months rehearsals of a character before they take them onto screen. I think with all the asides, it really helped to remember the original laughter. It's just the sea of silence that met me on set.
Next question.
Hi, nice to meet you. So I was just wondering if you had to control whether you put it on like Netflix or Amazon. And I was also wondering if Amazon costs $8 a month as well. Like Netflix. Because I want to see your show, but I only have Netflix. So I'm trying to figure out.
You can watch Crashing on Netflix.
Crashing's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think Amazon has a monthly cost. I'm not sure exactly how much. There might be an Amazon rep here with her.
Amazon,
We can
it's
probably
worth-
get her in touch with you.
It's worth an investment in Amazon too, though. Their shows are amazing.
It's true. They have Fleabag. They have Transparent.
They have Fleabag, and they have Transparent and Fleabag. Yeah,
But more importantly, Fleabag. They have Fleabag.
Fleabag, Amazon Prime. Yeah.
Well, how did you get involved with Amazon? How did it end up working out that way?
So they, the BBC saw the play in Edinburgh and asked for a pilot, and then we were given about £10 to make the pilot. And
The cost of an Amazon account.
Yeah, exactly. It was 1 month without the free trial, and then and because it was one of their this BBC Three kind of comedy feed thing that they call it, and but because we managed to pull in an amazing crew and DOP and director and everything, because they were just hanging around in London for those couple of weeks, and they liked the script. So in the end, the pilot, which is the first episode, just looked amazing for the budget that we had, because this is an amazing team. And then, but we knew that if we wanted to keep that level, we'd actually have to pay them properly. And so my producers went to Amazon and said, look, because they loved the pilot, but they said we can't make it at this level. We wanted anamorphic lenses and stuff, which apparently are all really expensive. And they were like, well, we need it. And Amazon came on board and kind of for the episodes 2 to 6, and just really loved it, and just gave us match the budget to help us make the show we wanted to make. And they were so great, because they were just like, we love it, go and make it, without kind of being too overbearing. They were just really sort of creative, friendly. It was lovely.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, Phoebe.
Hi.
I just want to say I found the character very relatable, and she lost a partner, and her family doesn't understand her, and she's just trying to make a human connection.
Yeah.
But the lead
It's
is
okay.
that okay, sorry.
We're here. We're here for you.
But the lead on her character is that she's unlikable. Why do you think that's the lead on the character? I guess if it was a man, wouldn't it be celebrated her qualities? I guess.
Yeah, I don't think it would be. That would be the sort of tagline of the reviews in the press if it was a man. I think it's. I mean, I don't find her unlikable at all, and I was worried. I was worried that if people didn't see her pain underneath it all, and that her attitude was just kind of dismissive, and she just didn't seem to care. That's clearly what she's trying to make you think. But if we were too convincing and she just didn't care and she was just being a dick, then I think that would justify that. But I think we were careful to build in as much humanity as possible. So it just kind of surprises me when people say unlikable. Maybe not unlovable. I don't know. Also, you can't help if people don't like
It's also,
you.
It would
Your
kind
character.
of still work if the humanity wasn't there and it was like an episodic show. You would have a kind of Seinfeld or Always Sunny type of character, and you can just sort of apply them into any situation and watch them kind of squirm around it. But because you applied this humanity, it makes her extremely likable. I'm not really sure, yeah.
I think it's the kind of unrelenting smugness that she has at keeping you on side, which I think can probably rub people up the wrong way if they're not sensitive to the fact that it's clearly an act. And even though I find that kind of funny, but the kind of, even those fuck me up the arse moments, it's they just yes. I told myself I was going to get it in somewhere later in this conversation.
But does that get everybody that has seen the show and likes it if you do that in front of them? Are they immediately it's become almost a tagline where it's I got someone to do their tagline in front of me and I'm kind of
yeah, I hope so. It cracks me up. It just seems so.
Tagline for life might be that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's I have a really good meal and was fuck me up the arse.
When you're Like in 20 years when you're walking down the street, hey, fuck me up the ass. Like, they're going to be doing that to you.
Yeah. Or just, massive arsehole. There's a lot of things that people could shout at me after Fleabag. Blissfully, they don't. They're very, normally it's, normally actually it's boys going, oh, Fleabag, wicked, yeah, it's really good. And girls being like, Fleabag. Like, it's so emotional. It's a really funny mix. But so far, it's just...
Would you like really connect with a broad, wide American audience? Then they'll start shouting taglines at you. That's kind of what they're...
That would be...
That's what they're known for.
I mean, the dream, but don't know how she'd fare.
I have to ask before I let you go, I meant to ask this earlier, but what the last song that always plays in the show, this sort of like heavy rock song, where did that come from? What made you want to put that in there?
Well, it's my sister's a composer, and she composed all the music for the show, and she did that. And it's really funny because she's she's sort of a really beautiful, well put together, gentle kind of British girl. And then she'd hand in this tape, and she'd be like, "How about this?" And it'd be like, we were just always like, "Yeah, the inner Izzo."
It's great. It's so smart. It's such a great punch in the gut.
Well, we wanted to be really like, it's the same thing. It's just that punkiness of her. Like she's not gonna sit in sentimentality puddles for anybody, and she doesn't want you to either. So like at the end of the first episode, when it was just very, very clear immediately the moment she looks at the camera, almost everyone in the edit was just like, even before we had the music, you just knew you wanted that sense of like she's badass rather than. Although there is one at the end of episode 3, we do go like because she's stroking the guinea pig, and we just thought that would be cute.
Oh yeah, that worked because that worked. You had sort of built up to that moment. That worked really well. Yeah. Well, she's badass and you're badass, and Fleabag is on Amazon right now, and Crashing is on Netflix if you want to watch that. But watch Fleabag; it's amazing, and because Amazon's here with her. So check out Fleabag. It's my favorite show of the year. Phoebe, thank you so much for being here.
Congratulations!
Thank you.